200,000 miles is a lot of miles for some vehicles. For a 4Runner, it's not. For this 4Runner, it kind of is. This was purchased new in 2010 and immediately off-roaded all over the western United States for 8 years before I bought it and proceeded to continue off-roading it all over the western United States for another 8 years. But it has been replaced and it is time to go to the next owner who will hopefully off-road it all over some part of some country until 2034, at which point it will be halfway through its usable life. At least. But first, we're going to replace a bunch of wear items, fix the broken things, and polish this turd up so we can auction it off to whoever is brave enough to add a little bit of adventure to their life. I said we're polishing this turd, but that's not really fair. This vehicle has seen a lot. It has experienced a few failures here and there, but the bones are strong. I've never had a problem with the engine or transmission more serious than a small oil leak. Actually, pretty much all of the problems I had are things that were changed by either me or the previous owner, or just straight up abuse on my part. The 5th gen 4Runner is a tank. Still, there are things that need to be fixed. A lot of them were fixed about 10,000 miles ago when I replaced all of the suspension bushings and the lower control arms and the sway bar bushings and fixed the cracked shock tower and rebuilt the shocks, the front shocks anyway. The rears were too messed up, so I just replaced those. The rear links and the upper control arms are all total chaos with urethane bushings. You do need to periodically lubricate these to keep them from squeaking, and I rarely lubricate them, so they do squeak. Also, there's a slight ticking noise when driving that I think is coming from the front left. It's been there for a long time, I don't care what it is, and I'm not going to fix it. If you want your vehicle to be silent outside, then this might not be the 4Runner for you. The most annoying current issue is a CV boot tear that has been dripping grease on my driveway for a few months. If you have a torn CV boot for too long, all the grease will fling out and you'll get water in there and your CV will rust out. Every time I park this thing, it drips a little bit of grease on the ground, and you know what they say, if it's dripping grease, there's still grease in there. I tore it open more to check it out, and it is still greasy enough to not be rusted, so I bought a boot replacement kit and we took it apart to fix it. This went pretty well, straightforward, probably because this is the 3rd time I've removed a CV axle from this car. The tripod was not rusty at all. In fact, it still had some grease left in it. We put the new boot on, slathered in a whole bunch of new grease, and put it all back together. Some of you eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that the steering boot is also completely destroyed. This is the tie rod that I bent like a taco and had to replace. I bought some no-name replacement boot and it sucked. I tend to buy OEM Toyota replacement parts, and every time I don't, I regret it. Anyway, we did replace the boot, this time with a Toyota part, so hopefully that will last longer than a few thousand miles. We had a slight detour with this project. The floor jack stopped working. This has happened before. In fact, it happened when we were trying to get the wrecked smart car onto the trailer in the desert, which was really frustrating. I was about to throw it in the dumpster and head to Harbor Freight for a new one, but Dave suggested we spend 5 minutes trying to fix it. We supposed it might be air in the system or not enough fluid, so we topped it off, but that didn't work. Then I noticed this spring isn't springing back. This shaft was sticking in place and that apparently won't let it lift anymore. I hit it with a hammer and sprayed it with lots of lube and it seems to be working again, so it will live to be thrown in the dumpster another day. This is coincidentally also how you fix a 4Runner. If it stops working, you just hit it with a hammer and spray it with some lube and it'll start working again. We changed the oil and filter. That was overdue by a couple 100 miles, but not too many. We did run out of old oil containers to put the old oil in, so I had to improvise with a container I had in the trash. By the way, the oil pan has a couple of dents in it from rocks, nothing affecting the oil pickup. The transmission pan, however, looks like it lost a bar fight. I high-centered on a boulder directly on the pan and then smashed it back into shape with a sledgehammer. It looks bad, but it's fine. Probably. I do have a skid plate for this car. It's a bit rusty, but otherwise good. It is also not attached to the car. By the way, this car has under 200,000 miles. That's right, it's literally miles away from 200,000. Not even close. Future Matt here. I had to disconnect the battery to do some electrical stuff that I'll talk about in a minute, and that reset all the readiness checks for smog. So before I could get it smogged, I had to drive around a bunch of miles, and it is now over 200,000, but just barely. It's still miles away from 200,000, just in the wrong direction. The most recent problem on this car is that it developed a leak inside during heavy rain. It wasn't a lot of water, but I didn't drive it for a week or so and it started to get moldy inside, and now it smells like a dirty sock, which is not the smell I'm going for. I cleaned up the water on the floorboard, vacuumed it, and got rid of the smell with the help of an ozone generator. But I wasn't exactly sure where the water came from. I figured one of three places. It's either the sunroof drain is clogged, the HVAC drain is clogged, or water is leaking in from the cowl. I never used the sunroof, but I figured that was a good place to start, and it turns out if you don't ever use your sunroof, it kind of stops working. With that opened, we found the sunroof drain was clogged. 2 of them, anyway. There are 4 drains in the sunroof, 1 in each corner. The rear drains were working great, but the front 2 were not. The headliner wasn't wet at all, so I don't think this was the cause of the water on the floorboard, but we fixed it anyway. If you have the same problem, it's an easy fix. Just go in the kitchen and grab your roommate's turkey baster. Fill it up with water and gently squeeze it at the drain hole a few times until water flows freely. The drain on the air conditioning did seem to be working fine, since every time I parked after driving with the AC on, water would drip out the bottom of the car. Still, I decided to do the turkey baster thing on the HVAC drain as well, just in case. The third place I thought water might be coming from is behind the cowl, and that seems like a reasonable assumption since it was filled with half-decayed tree poop. We just straight up removed the whole cowl and hosed it down, then vacuumed out the trough underneath it. I didn't find any obvious leak paths, but I did hose down the cowl and sunroof with a lot of water and didn't see any water coming into the car. We also had 2 days of heavy rains with no signs of water in the floorboard, so I think we fixed it. No promises. The sunroof opening and closing was a problem, and we attempted to mitigate that with some lube. We wiped down the tracks and then spread on some grease. There's probably some specific sunroof grease, but there's also this red stuff that was within arm's reach. This helped. It no longer stutters and makes awful noises when opening up, but to get it closed, you do have to help it pass the wind deflector. I'm calling this good enough, but if you're the kind of person who likes to open and close your sunroof a lot, this might not be the 4Runner for you. I added a Pioneer head unit to this car with Apple CarPlay a long time ago, and it's been great. It really makes the car feel a lot newer than 2010. It does have a backup camera, but that disconnected a while back for some unknown reason, and I decided now was a good time to hook it back up. It was still there and the wiring was under the car, but the connectors had seen better days. I brushed them off and connected them to see if it worked, and it did. Kind of. Not really. We did wiggle it around and get it to work sometimes.
There it goes. Oh, we lost it. There it is. We got it. Don't touch it. Oh, it's gone again.
But I decided to just buy a whole new camera and redo the connection, and now it works great. There's also this connector that was bundled in with the rear view wires. I don't know what this is for. I think it might be for the tag light. I do have a tag light, but it's not wired to anything. So if you do buy this car, feel free to connect the plug to these wires and see what happens. This 4Runner has 3 rows, and I've never used 3 rows. In fact, I took out the second row to make it better to sleep in, and when I had people sit in the back, they just used the 3rd row. The second row seats lived inside the house for most of their lives, but they did spend a month outside a while back, and they got real gross. I set them outside on a few warm, sunny days, and then we went to town with some cleaner and scrub brushes to get all the gunk off, and I am honestly shocked how nice they came out. I was about to rip off the covers and just replace them, but they're good. They're not great, but they're good. Overall, the interior is well used. There are scratches and chips, and I will be doing nothing to fix those. If you're a stickler for nice interiors, this might not be the 4Runner for you. I used to have a light bar on the front bumper, but that thing rattled itself loose a while ago. But it does still have 2 lights on the roof rack. There's also 2 side lights for camping. I added a second battery a while back, mostly because I don't want to kill my starting battery in the middle of nowhere. The 2 are connected with this device that allows the alternator to charge both batteries when the voltage is above 13.4, but disconnects the 2 when it's lower than charging voltage. So the auxiliary battery gets to charge from the alternator, but you can't kill the starting battery with the extra lights. I have an onboard air compressor. It runs to a tank in the back where the spare tire used to be, and the outlet is on the rear bumper. The lights and air compressor run off the auxiliary battery. You can flip this switch on to use them when the car is turned off. The air compressor also runs the rear air locker. I added a rear air locker a while ago, and this really opens up the off-roading possibilities. Gets you through a lot of gnarly stuff. I have a winch on the front, also running off the auxiliary battery. This is great for getting you out of that gnarly stuff you thought you could get through but actually can't. Also great for towing stuck Europeans out of Death Valley. Some of you familiar with the 4Runner have noticed that this is listed as a 2010, but it has the headlights that didn't arrive until 2014. Well, the old headlights were hazy and cracked, and it was easier to just buy a pair of newer headlights in this lower fascia piece and replace the old ones. It also looks a lot better this way, I think. I added these bronze wheels a while back. They're great, but they have seen some action and there are some dings and scratches. Also, I did add tire pressure sensors to them, but the batteries have since died and the dash light comes on, so that's a thing. There's also this other dash light which came on after I bent my tie rod, and I have made zero effort to fix it. It doesn't seem to cause any problems, but if you're annoyed by extra dashboard lights, then this might not be the 4Runner for you. One of the first things I did when I bought this vehicle was to repaint all the wheel arches and the exterior metal, and it looked way better after I did, so I decided to do that again. We used the playing card trick to help mask everything off. This is great for painting trim. You just wedge the cards behind the trim, slightly overlapping, and if you're feeling lucky, you just paint it like that. But probably you should also add some plastic to keep the overspray off. We did Scotch-Brite down all the surface rust and clean everything off beforehand. I'm not that lazy. I bought the car with this front bumper. It's great. It did have 3 lights up here that never worked. That's why these holes are here in the plastic. I got rid of those lights a while ago. I did add this convenient shovel here. I thoroughly cleaned it while we were painting the bumper. I promise it's totally clean. I have buried a lot of stuff with this shovel while camping, usually about 6 to 8 inches down in the morning, right after some coffee, along with some toilet paper. It's a poop shovel. The rock sliders are great. They have seen a lot of sliding on rocks. I added the rear bumper, which has the tire swing out, and I added a fuel tank holder to the top. This currently has 100 octane racing gas in it. I mostly used it for the race car. This tire swing out is not the best design. It has this spring detent that holds the swing out open, but it gets sand in it and it gums up all the time. So you have to occasionally remove it with a hammer, clean it off, and lubricate it. Yeah. I added a pivot to the other side in case I wanted to add something swinging out over there, but I never did. So it's just this little stub with a detent spring that won't move because it's packed full of sand. The snorkel will come off if you go through a drive-through car wash. It's happened to me twice. That's why it's glued and riveted on. Some of you may remember when my left tripod came loose after one of the lower upright bolts came out. Well, after I put that together, I drove around for about 1,000 miles before I got an alignment. It didn't feel like the alignment was that bad, but the front tire wear tells a different story. It's a lot lower on the outside. I did get an alignment eventually, and I also got another one a few days ago after fixing the tie rod tear. But these tires are just going to be like this. So if you're looking for tires with normal tread wear, then this might not be the 4Runner for you. The last thing this 4Runner needed was to pass emissions, which it did without issue. Actually, after that, there was one last thing to replace. This 4Runner is currently up for auction at Cars and Bids with no reserve. The link is in the description. I have no idea what this thing is worth. It's highly modified, but highly used. 4Runners always go for too much money in the used market when they're in good condition, but this one's condition could only be described as good enough. Like I said, this car has good bones. It would be great for someone who's looking for something of an old work truck to do some serious off-roading. 200,000 is not that many miles, but on the other hand, a lot of those miles have been hard miles. I have not been kind to this vehicle. It has been airborne multiple times. It has been driven like it was stolen more times than most vehicles that are actually stolen. And I know some of you are thinking, Matt, it kind of sounds like you're trying to convince us to not buy your 4Runner. Anyway, this vehicle will bring you adventure. I don't know what kind of adventure, but you will have stories. I can pretty much guarantee that. This is a well-used adventure vehicle with what some will call personality, and others might call significant body damage. If that's what you're looking for, then place your bids. If you're looking for anything else, this might not be the 4Runner for you. Maybe buy that other 4Runner with fewer miles, nicer paint, and the interior free of dried up French fries. Just don't come crying to me when you find yourself in the middle of the desert with an empty coffee cup and no poop shovel.